Hi everybody, I'm here to report on last night's pathetic 1-1 draw against Braga in the Europa League. I say pathetic, but beforehand I would have taken a 1-1 draw or any kind of draw. So bad have we been that anything would have been welcome, but it ended up being pathetic, not only because of another poor performance, but because the game was won and of course we threw it away, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory as we usually do. So we'll come back to how that happened in a few minutes. You've got to, on the one hand, feel sorry for Danny Rule. He's having to use these guys that are obviously substandard, no fault of his. But he's got to take responsibility for some of the things he does as well. He's not some genius manager that's going to get a tune out of this woeful bunch of players. Practically the worst group of players I've seen at Rangers ever, and I mean ever. I'm going back to the early 80s when we were looking at the worst Rangers teams that I'd ever seen since the days of Jim Baxter and company. So he's got to take responsibility. Starting the game with Danilo, that's just unbelievable. That guy contributes nothing. So he starts with him up front and Chermiti beside him, or ahead of him, as it turned out. And then Diamandi, another guy that produces nothing. Why he's in the team, who knows? He can't shoot, he can't run fast, he doesn't make telling, decisive passes. His tackling is woeful. In fact, his tackling usually results in at least a yellow card and in some cases a red card. And tonight we were lucky. It took until about the 95th minute before he got his second yellow. He should have been subbed at half time, but no, the manager kept him on. That's just inexplicable. And Danilo as well, how he lasted so long, who knows. So anyhow, the manager's got to accept responsibility for some of his team selections and setup and substitutions, because they weren't good enough either. I don't know if he's been dragged down into the mediocrity of the whole setup, especially that group of first team players. It was obvious from the beginning that the wind was going to play a big part in the game, because it was a really strong wind, gusting different directions, all the rest of it, holding the ball up at times, that kind of thing. But that was the same for both teams. And in fact, that suited us because Braga are a far better team than us. They played better than us last night. So anything that's helpful in terms of adverse conditions to level the playing field, not literally, but level the playing field in terms of negating their obvious skill compared to ours, was welcome. So when spoiled the game, that was good from our point of view because we're up against a superior team. I think the stats were ridiculous. It's something like we had 9 shots in the whole game, 9 shots at goal. Amazingly, 6 of them were on target, and they had, I think it was 6 shots at goal and 5 on target, and I think the possession was much the same, but their possession was far better, more secure, more threatening, all that kind of stuff. So we were lucky they weren't a super team, because although they were 5th in the Europa League before the game, they didn't play like a team that's that high up. So I don't know if they've been lucky in their previous games. They won't go much further than the next round if they do get through, which they should, really. So anyhow, poor game, ruined as well by the terrible Dutch referee. I don't know what he was doing. He was a shambles. He really was terrible. And for once, VAR came to our rescue. At least VAR got to the right decisions, which gives a chance of actually winning this game. Because in the first 15 minutes, Jack Butland, who's one of a few decent players, he saved us twice with 2 good saves in the first 15 minutes. Otherwise, the game would have been over within 15 minutes. VAR really gave us a chance of winning this game. Firstly, just before half time, penalty kick out of nowhere. Nobody saw anything wrong because the corner into the box, crowded box, anything could have happened. And having seen it on TV, VAR got it right. The guy stuck his arm out and it hit him. Years ago, that might not have been a penalty. It is nowadays. And Tavernier did his one good thing of the whole game, and he actually dispatched the penalty. That guy was trundling about as usual, out of position, missing tackles. lobs to nobody into the box, corners, free kicks, hitting the first defender, just the usual. And he's got the cheek to talk about the rest of the team in post-match interviews. Sort yourself out, mate, before you start moaning about the rest of them. So anyhow, 1-0 up going into the tunnel at half-time. Most people couldn't believe that. I thought we might have a chance here. Who knows? We might get better organised, keep them well away from the goal. And then our fortunes improved again when, I think, was it first, they had a shout for a penalty. I think it was Miovski. It went to VAR. Disallowed, no penalty because it did hit him high up in the chest. So that was a good VAR call as well. And then the one where Barron got booked for a tackle, and in the meantime, Raskin's lying flat out as if he's been hooked by Mike Tyson or somebody. When it goes to VAR, we didn't even know which foul they were looking at. Were they looking at Connor Barron's? Was he going to get a red instead of a yellow? But no, as it turned out, it was the Braga guy, Uruguayan guy, who got sent off for a, inverted commas, headbutt. I mean, the sort of headbutt I don't think even Julian Clary could have bettered. So when I saw that on TV again, well done, Raskin. It's nice to see one of our foreigners outdoing the opposition foreigners when it comes to cheating, because there's no way he had to go down like that. But well done for doing it and getting the guy sent off. They would do it to us. Celtic players would do it to us. So would any other Scottish teams players. So well done for actually doing the right thing and going down like a ton of bricks. Although the guy barely brushed you with his head, if he even did touch you. The camera angles were poor. So up against 10 men, 1-0 up, terrible conditions. How could we possibly lose? And how can we do that? Well, because we've got a guy called Giga on loan from Woes, 10 million quid, and it was just atrocious. I mean, the goal that he gave away, a simple header from... Sorry, I got a cold. Simple header from a corner after Fernandes had tried to head it back to the goalkeeper and was yards astray. So poor Jack Butland having to slide to stop it going from a corner, and it went for a throw in, chip into the box. 3 Rangers players there, no forward near any of them, and Giga's in the middle, and he somehow manages to head it a few yards back the way. Anywhere else and it's safe, he heads it a few yards back the way. The ball, when I saw it on TV again, the ball goes about a foot over Tavernier's thigh, and there's the guy who's going to score as usual, a couple of feet behind Tavernier, just to prod it into the net. So Giga, by the way, not many people know this, that's in the Swahili language. Giga means useless. So he's well named. I would drive that guy back to Wolverhampton tomorrow if somebody would let me. He's absolutely atrocious. He's the worst defender I think I've ever seen. And I've seen people like, Jack Simpson, George Edmondson, Ben Davis, but this guy beats a lot. He just looks like a schoolboy that's never played the game before, panics every time he gets it. So just get rid of him as soon as possible, because he's not going to do us any more favours. Not that he's done anything much so far. I don't know how many goals he's cost us. So as soon as they equalise, we all suspected that would be the end of the scoring, and that's how it turned out. So great chance to win our first game, thrown away by a silly defensive error. Just unbelievable when you think about it. So a point still. At least it's not going to be a 0 on the board come the end of the league phase. Who knows, we might manage to beat Ludogorets at home in January, because hopefully we'll have a couple of new guys in by then, and maybe some of these loanees like Aarons and Giga, we can pop back to the clubs that foisted them on us, thanks to Thelwell. So terrible result in the end. I would have taken a draw beforehand, but that should have been a game won, and we contrived to throw it away. Poor performances from everybody except Butland. Give him a pass. Little Connor Barron, the best guy in the team. He tackled, he got stuck in, he showed the energy and the determination, everything we want the others to do it and they can't do it, and yet he was hooked. instead of Diamonde, who was already on a booking and doing next to nothing. So come on, manager, wise up, look and see who are the best players, and how Lyle Cameron couldn't get on ahead of Asgard and Diamande is anybody's guess. Let's give him a go and see if he can actually do anything. So a shocking performance, 1 point. Can only get worse, really.